Hey everybody, welcome back to Tune Up Tuesday. Hope that you are having a great week so far. Monday's behind us and Friday's coming. That's got to mean something. So today is Metaphorical Story Day, and I'm hoping that some of you out there can just once upon a time yourself right into the storyline and look at a life situation from a slightly different perspective. That's always the goal here on Tune Up Tuesday. So imagine that you suddenly wake up and find yourself in this tiny little boat, this little canoe. Off into the distance, you can see the shoreline. In your boat, you have an oar and you have a box. The box has a note on it that says, inside of this box, you will find a sandwich and a bottle of fresh water. And every day it will magically replace itself, so you will not starve. Your challenge is to get to the shore. So you're like, okay. You look around, and in the boat is also a couple of little books. Books on how to survive at sea and how to navigate at night and how to maximize the efficiency of rowing a boat. And you wonder, wow, that's a lot of overkill to just get to the shore, right? So you start paddling towards shore when suddenly you realize that the splashing of the oars attracts sharks, big ones. So now the sharks are now circling your boat as you slowly make it towards the shore. They aren't trying to knock you over like Jaws, but they are there, and they're pretty big sharks. And then you realize that there's a leak in the boat, a pretty substantial leak. And now you realize, oh, this is the challenge. The challenge is, if I don't stop the leak, I won't make it to shore. I'm gonna be eaten by sharks. And I don't know if I can get to the shore before I sink, right? So now you start to go through the mental challenge of trying to figure out, should you focus more on scooping the water out of the boat so the boat doesn't sink, or paddling towards the shore so that you can ultimately get to safety? Now, in a perfect world, there is a perfect combination, right? There is a perfect combination of how much time you should spend on scooping water out of the boat and then paddling towards the shore, and then doing that at some type of interval that maximizes your efficiency to give you the greatest chance to getting to shore. The problem is you can't do that math. You don't have enough information to even try to come up with what is perfect. So you have to make an imperfect choice. There are generally kind of two schools of thought. One is that the biggest danger is sinking and being eaten by sharks. Therefore, you should spend most of your time focused on getting water out of the boat. The other general school of thought is the ultimate the ultimate goal is to get to the shore. So no matter what, you have to prioritize moving towards the shore. And that's the dilemma that this person, you find yourself in, right? But there's some different values, or there's some advantages to prioritizing movement towards the shore, right? Obviously, scooping water out of the boat with the magic food box, you're not going to die. You're going to just, at worst, it may seem that you may just stay where you are. More realistically, you won't just stay where you are. You will go to where the tide takes you. If you just sit there and focus on not sinking, the tide will move the boat where the tide moves the boat. Probably not towards the shore, probably out to sea, further away from your goal. The advantage of taking action is that as you get closer and closer to the shore, as long as you don't sink, there are things outside of the boat that suddenly starts to change your odds. One is the people on the shore, as you get closer, will eventually notice you out there. And if you got close enough, they would probably also notice the sharks and realize, without you even being able to communicate to them, that you might need assistance. They can become your allies. The closer you get to the shore, the more shallow the water gets. And maybe sharks have a limit to what they're most comfortable with. Maybe the sharks will just stop, right? For the people that are focused on just surviving, just doing the absolute guaranteed thing, which is not sinking because you won't die because you constantly get your food supply replenished, you're hoping, the only way you can get to shore in that scenario is you hoping on something outside of you completely changes the scenario. Like the sharks just lose interest, or the sharks get hungry enough to go find food that's not you. Something outside of you and the boat changes interest. The information in the boat doesn't close the distance between you and the shore either, right? Even though if you took time between making sure you didn't sink to understand, get smarter, get more information, the distance between you and the shore remains the same if the tide doesn't even push you further and further away. That's the dilemma. The water, obviously, in this exact scenario is your life situation, where you find yourself, right? Where you wake up right now and you find yourself. The sharks are the perceived unknown dangers of the unknown, the perceived dangers of the unknown. You know there are dangers out there. You just don't know if you're going to have to confront them. The shore is your goal, what you say you want, where you're trying to go. The people on the shore are potential allies. They are your potential allies. I invite you to just think about this story from a lot of different angles and overlay your life situations on top of this scenario and find out which, by the nature of the actions you're currently taking relative to your goal, what are you being in the boat? Are you spent most of your time focused on making sure the boat doesn't sink? Are you juggling your time between keeping the boat afloat and learning new stuff? Or are you somehow day by day getting closer and closer towards the shore, the goal? Because as you can imagine in the story, the shore is actually really there. It's a sure thing if you can figure out how to navigate what your plan is. That's it. It's just a thought experiment. It's a thought exercise. It's an interesting one, and it might give some people some perspective on how they are prioritizing their times, what the tendencies would be in the stress of your day. The tendency obviously will be to do what seems to be the emergency from the context of with the small view of the boat you're in, but it might not factor in the bigger emergency that you must close the distance between you and the shore. You not doing anything leaves your position relative to the shore up to the tide of things. The tide may not be your friends. Usually it's not. For what most people tend to define as their goal, their shore, it's going to take effort for one. It's going to take consistent effort. It's going to take a plan, and it's going to take you dealing with real life crisis, real life danger, real life uncertainty, but managing somehow to prioritize your activity based on what your ultimate goal is. The thing that I find most motivating about this hypothetical story is that those that take action, whether they can tell or not, are doing what they need to do to change the probability of things outside of their control, like the depth of the water and the people on the shore noticing them, suddenly becoming allies, suddenly becoming things that are in the favor of you reaching your goal.